So
exactly.
Sometimes you're gonna get good ones, sometimes you're gonna get bad ones.
Just keeping those bad ones not too bad is really the difference between you see some of these good runners to being some of the great runners, how they can salvage those situations. But it looks like we're off.
Absolutely. Checking our first chest and receiving a fairy with a bottle inside.
Nice. A 1-up to start.
And always nice, takes the pressure off of Kakariko. Don't have to root around for that because you're going to be guaranteed to check Sick Kid.
Yeah, keeping your trips more efficient, you know, not having to one back there to get that, you know, one item for Dark World access. And this mode, I'm sure everyone's familiar with it now. Ooh, that was a blue pendant at Eastern. Looks like Desert and Heroic Crystals. But we're doing randomized weapons, which is not randomized at all, because we're going to have a sword today.
Yes, the rarest of all possible randomized weapons.
Yeah, I'd heard them talking about that. It's only like a 2% chance. Ooh, nice. Even in early mirrors, so they can use that after they rescue Zelda to warp to the front of the castle. That saves all the walking back.
Yeah, very nice early routing item as well. The earlier they can enter Dark World, the easier they're going to have with some of those overworld checks.
That's true, too. Hopefully they remember to use it. I know saltyphry was picking up the bushes instead of using his sword there. That's just going to be a little bit slower, but that's okay. He's not used to having one. Again, like what you said, it's one of the rarest ones. I think it's only like a 2% chance.
Yeah, that's what I've heard as well.
Yeah. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they wanted to do randomized weapons, but because there's 4 swords, either it was going to be a very high percentage chance that a sword would appear, unless they did something to drastically make it lower. Alright, but 20 rupees in the next chest, and yeah, we'll just... Since this is a standard opening and not an open opening, they will have to go through the entire escape sequence, which, you know, goes through rescuing Zelda and escorting her through the back of the sewers, so... I'm sure weeks from now we'll be sick and tired of this sequence. Maybe not, though.
Yeah, and both the runners at this point not going particularly out of their way to farm for bombs, it doesn't look like.
No, yeah. You can kind of kill some enemies more efficiently on the way. If they wanted, when they make the trek through the long hallway back, you can grab a pot, maybe snipe a guard there. The rats and the snakes are obviously going to be a little bit quicker to kill too when they're going through the sewers, and they're a little bit more high density also. It's a shame that the bomb capacity upgrades don't give you a bomb like they used to way back when. That's all but changed then. No, Magus only making it down to a heart there. He was trying to get some early mileage out of that fairy there.
Yeah, and both of them making use of that mirror to warp back straight back here. Really shave some seconds off your escape.
Yeah, no, it's pretty big time save there. It's awesome to get the mirror so early. Even funny enough to get the mirror, you know, in combination with the fairy in a bottle, so, you know, you don't accidentally do a death warp. The game's too nice sometimes. Yeah, I'm sure we'll probably see him farming these snakes here, trying to snag a lucky bomb drop. No luck so far, though.
Yeah, both of them, it looks like, killing 3 in that hallway and coming up empty.
There's one for eLmaGus, so there is bombs in those prize packs there.
Oh, but saltyphry not picking them up, having killed several now, at least 8 or 9.
I should probably look a little bit more into how that works, but I think maybe the snakes and the rats are in a separate prize pack, so that might be why eLmaGus got a bomb there and saltyphry didn't. Who knows though, saltyphry might not even need one if, you know, there's nothing good in these back 3 chests that could save him time, but having the peace of mind of knowing that you've checked them is always nice as well, and it looks like there was just 60 bucks back there, so...
Absolutely. Our good friend, the Big 20 in triplicate. So, All he's going to get from going back there is, like you said, the peace of mind.
I guess having the extra money is nice here too. It would allow him to check the bottle vendor and buy 10 bombs without having to worry about any additional rupee drops, even though you're probably pretty likely to come across some as you go through Kakariko. eLmaGus picking up his map there at the end of the sanctuary, just in case.
And neither runner, it looks like, going for the immediate lumberjack check, instead opting to route that in later. Pretty common choice among high-level runners, I think.
Yeah, I like it too. It makes a lot of sense. You can check lumberjack, but you can't get the item until you defeat Ganon, which has quite a few item barriers around it. And also, you need the boost to do it as well. I think a common way to check it now is once you get your boost, you just check those bonk rocks, and then after you check the bonk rocks, you just go ahead and make a short trip up there to see what's there. Considering now that you have the boost, you'd actually be able to get it. So I think that's probably the better route. Saves you, more time in the long run of seeds.
Oh, and our lower tier tree pull ends up being bombs. And it looks like saltyphry is going to dip back in and out here and make that pull a couple of times.
Okay, a little extra farming here. 8 bombs is definitely a very healthy start. Usually that's enough to kind of fuel you for the rest of your run. eLmaGus only has 1 bomb now. I believe he got an extra drop because the tier 2 pull was only, I think, 4 rupees. So he's going to go ahead and check this one, probably hoping maybe he can find a pack of 3 bombs in the chest here. And if he doesn't get one there, then he'll have to decide whether or not he wants to make the gamble, checking Kakariko well, or if he wants to go walk down by them and then walk back up. Looks like we got a Canis Samaria, though, hanging out here in Blind's Hut.
Yes, Canis Samaria and Blue Boomerang.
They should have switched that cane and the sword. They should have just swapped places. That way we could have had, the more fun escape. But, alright game, we'll take it anyways.
It's the long run. We still have plenty more opportunities for the seed to give us fun times.
We're just gonna steal sick kids' lunch money there. And yet, eLmaGus did skip doing Kakariko well without bombs. He's gonna go ahead and get some bombs from the back of the bar here. And we had a hook shot over in the Kakariko well. Definitely a handy item to get early. There's a lamp as well, too. Makes you think that glove is somewhere right around the corner to get your Dark World access on Death Mountain or something. Ooh, a nice
eLmaGus picks up the Master Sword, so glove to get Dark World access is one possibility, but we do have one other possibility now.
Yeah, you're right. It was a glove or I guess that extra sword. Now Aga's on the table, and yeah, you're right with that hook shot. That gives them access to a lot of stuff in the Dark World. Only thing we're missing right now is just that feisty Moon Pearl.
And neither of our runners, I imagine, have seen anything at this point that are going to make them divert from the typical route of going down to South Shore after they finish off the Kakariko loop here.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, man, you could be crazy enough just to go ahead and do Aga now. I mean, you have the mirror in hand. You could do South Shore and check it with a lot of things. Just imagine if you had, all the items along the way that by the time you made it to the dam, you were also doing Swamp Palace. I don't think we'll see that, but, I mean, I wouldn't think it was crazy. I think the Moon Pearl, though, you're probably going to want to hold off doing Aga until you find that one.
Yes, and seeing Quake on the library and a cart container inside the race on the left here, saltyphry saves and quits, as does eLmaGus. And it looks like saltyphry at least is going to head on south here.
Yeah, eLmaGus is doing the same. Immediately when he equipped that hook shot, right when he had respawned back in Link's house. Both going to be going for the little clip here. If you, well, I guess you can use it with that mirror also, but when you're pushing the block, that block kind of disappears for a little bit, and you can hook shot the stuff past it. I'm sure eLmaGus will show it off for us here, but it's kind of how you can. Well, you know what? We'll try next time. He missed it. So he's going to have to walk back in to check that chest. saltyphry's greedy. He's skipping the heart container on the ground. He doesn't want it. Saving the seconds.
Yeah, and having seen one already in the race game, which he is almost certainly not going back to, that's cutting down on the available possible health.
Yeah, I don't know how I would feel about leaving an extra 20% upgrade to my health just kind of sitting there, but...
Yeah, and eLmaGus picking that up and then heading over to Ganon. Ooh, and saltyphry gets the blue mail and, more importantly, the bow and the silver arrows inside Mini Moldorm Cave. eLmaGus is going to want to come back for that as soon as possible.
Yeah, that was a pretty sick find right there. Eastern was a pendant, and saltyphry is about to find that out now. Magus was the one who did the first map check. I mean, there's a lot of items over here, and you're still missing that moon pearl. You might as well do it. But looks like eLmaGus didn't get much from Agina's cave, and to note, saltyphry got that bow and that silver's knee dipped out, so he is going to be orphaning Ice Rod Cave for the moment also. Hopefully that moon pearl's not there, else that'll be a pretty gross bottleneck for him later.
Yeah, without some kind of mobility item like the Flute of the Boots, then it takes a long time to get back there. Oh, and he does find the moon pearl in the back of Sarasrala's cave and the cape, so...
And he immediately saved and quit. He is going to be doing a play on Aga if that's the case here. Yeah, saltyphry is playing very aggressive. He wants to win this race. He wants to check as little as he feels like he needs to, and he's cutting corners here and there, and it's saving him time. But once you miss one thing, that's when it's really going to hurt.
Yeah, and with the mirror especially, that... Oh, and saltyphry, heading to the back here, looks like he's going to check those 3 items back and escape, going the long way around before heading up to do Aga, perhaps. With the mirror, that's a relatively quick choice, actually. I really like that routing. Yeah,
I forgot about that he was missing those 3 chests. This actually does make a lot of sense, and I would imagine that, once he gets the the jackpot here of red rupee, red rupee, red rupee, he'll probably just go ahead and decide to clean up Aga at this point, since he is really pointing towards it. eLmaGus is over here in the Ice Rod Cave, so this is new information to us. That's Zora money.
Yeah, and Magus heading over towards Eastern now. We'll be getting their Moon Pearl. And interesting to see whether or not they will also just immediately dip out for that Aga play.
That's exactly what I was thinking too. I mean, it's a really tough call at this point. You would really hate to be leaving a free item over an Eastern Palace that might help you when you're, going through the Dark World. But at the same time, if there's nothing there, why do it?
Yeah, and especially given that they have the mirror and can come back from the Dark World and potentially make that dream play of finishing off Eastern Palace and Pod in one fell swoop, I can sort of see why heading straight to the Dark World might be a priority.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really fantastic point, honestly, because you could just do the long loop around, and, you know, you find nothing, then yeah, you just go ahead and combo them both together. But he's going to go ahead and check Eastern Palace. He might be a little suspicious that there might be the glove or, you know, at least flippers hanging out in. I mean, finding a glove in Eastern Palace would be huge, because when he does his Dark World access, he could check a few additional things along the way. You know, like you wouldn't be orphaning catfish, or he could opt to climb up Death Mountain, a few other things.
Absolutely. And with 3 items in Eastern Palace, assuming that he can find all of them and none of them are on Armos, there is still the possibility that he could get the glove and the hammer, or 2 gloves here in Eastern Palace, and be able to skip Aga entirely.
That's true too, yeah, you're absolutely right.
Perhaps not especially likely, but
you never know, it's Randomizer. And the game did give us that bow. Saltyphry's over here just doing work in Aga 1. eLmaGus has only found 3 bombs in his Eastern adventure here. Wow, it's always so annoying when that top guard gets in your way.
For me, that's every time, so I don't have the experience of that not happening.
I was kind of thinking the same thing too. He's a pest. I guess there is some way to manipulate it, but I would probably have to start playing the game a little bit more to understand that. There's both dungeon items, so the vanilla big key chest in Eastern and Armos will both be containing an item. I imagine if you're going to do one, you're probably going to do the other at this point.
Yeah, by this point I would say you've definitely committed to this. Can we even call it a gamble, or is it really just an alternate play?
I don't know, man. It's a very, I feel like they're both gambles at this point, to be honest. Just one's, I mean, they both could be right. You never know.
Definitely.
Go ahead and throw the boots in this back chest. You'll be happy to have them a lot earlier than your opponent. Yeah, to touch on what you said, you know, after saltyphry finishes Aghanim 1 up here, he could go head over to the pod area. And I mean, he could clear out Eastern while he was there, and then he can check all of the chest and pod except for whatever is on Helmasaur.
Yeah, and I believe he just needs to find a glove or a hammer to get access to West Side Dark World as well.
Correct. Yeah. Looks like Turtle Rock was our red pendant, Swamp was our green pendant, and 5 and 6 were too quick for my eyes, so I missed those.
Yeah, likewise.
But I'll give you a 2 and 5 chance to pick out which ones they were.
Yeah, and that small laugh in your voice I noticed as you noted Turtle Rock as a pendant. That's always a little bit interesting to see, we'll say.
Most definitely, especially since the game gave him Kane and Mario. As early as it did, you're thinking, oh, maybe there might be something in there. You never know, though. Again, just because you get these items doesn't mean it's necessarily required, or the logic's trying to paint you a picture, but everyone has their own, you know, method or ways to read into the seed.
Yeah, and eLmaGus, meanwhile, finishing off Armos, getting that blue pendant, and just getting 3 bombs for this trouble. So that dip, kind of a bust in terms of items.
That's really interesting. Man, that really tells us that, you know, Palace of Darkness is probably going to be a little front-loaded here. And it looks like eLmaGus is going to head over and fake Flipper to the Zora area. He's not quite sold on the AGA 1 play. I would imagine, you know, if you're only doing AGA 1 just to do pod, then maybe you could sequence break and try and pick up a couple more pieces, especially, you know, if you just end up finding the flippers in pod.
Yeah, of course, everything that he gets here will be out of logic, so he'll have to keep in the back of his mind that if he does find something here that gets him out of doing AGA 1, that the seed did intend it, as a manner of speaking.
Oh, no small key in that chest always feels bad. You gotta make an extra trip to check the vanilla big key chest in pod because you got an item instead of a small key. Then you go all the way up there just to get another small key. Pod can be silly sometimes.
Palace of small keys, they call it.
That one time you don't check it though, it's got the big key and you messed up. Ooh, there's a powder hanging out in the Lake Highway Island there.
Yeah, technically a possible progression item. Typically not, but even if it's not, a nice safety to have.
Yeah, most definitely can save you from some hard times in Turtle Rock, Mire, and Ganon's Tower.
eLmaGus getting Water Walk in Waterfall Cave here, just finding a heart container and a big 20.
saltyphry farming a few extra bombs here. Oh, there's the big key hanging out in the boat lock side. Now, I'd missed what was on the waterfall ledge there. My eyes were...
It was just a 5-arrow upgrade.
Perfect. Ooh, just a big 20 from Zora. What a ripoff.
Yeah, and with the let's see, 50-to-1 exchange rate there, I've got to think that eLmaGus is going to be heading up to AGA 1 finally now.
And at that point, I'd be like, Zora, I'll give you the 20 back if you just give me back the time I spent, you know, over here. That's what hurts the most right now. So eLmaGus is probably not feeling too good about those extra checks that he just did. At this point, you're probably going to feel that your opponent made a play on AGA a lot sooner than you did.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see eLmaGus, of course, not having to go to the back of escape, so saving a little bit of time there, but does definitely, I would imagine, think, wow, I've just spent some time I didn't need to there. Interesting to see whether they will be making some gambles in the future here to try and make up for that.
I guess... Yeah, that was good key counting by saltyphry to realize that both of these chests locked behind these key doors must have small keys because he only had 2 keys left. Well, hopefully we're going to see some progression on this big chest, else I might be a little curious of where our next progression is. And there's the flute. Okay, there's your Death Mountain access.
That is progression indeed.
And he's going to go ahead and finish up Eastern while he's here also. Thinking about it. You know what? Never mind. I got the flute. We'll just keep rolling with it. Wow, that's going to pay off huge for him. That's a pretty tough call right there.
Yeah, and with the Palace of Darkness being a crystal, he is, of course, going to have to come back there. So on the off chance that, from his perspective, on the off chance that there's something back there, he's probably thinking, well, I'll just do it when I do pod.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense, but I suppose that plan would get destroyed if he knows the hammer that was hanging out in Eastern, but...
Yeah, absolutely.
See, eLmaGus was showing us how that was done there with that top guard. He waited for him to go by before he threw the pod.
patience, the key to Link to the Past.
No point in ever trying those strategies out for us, so we'll never have patience, and I'm okay with that. So saltyphry turned in his flute, probably immediately heading up to Death Mountain, Paradox Cave. He can turn in the old man. He's got Spiral Cave. That's quite a few checks ahead of him here. And with the knowledge that we know, there's going to be something up here.
Yeah, and still, interestingly, with not even one glove, let alone the two that he would need for Death Mountain Dark World access, via the typical route, the rock they use over there.
It would be nice if he did find two gloves up here. That way he could check the Mitzlock stuff, you know, while he was making the trip. Man, I wouldn't be surprised if you see just a hammer or maybe just the flippers up here, though, because those would really unlock quite a bit also.
And with that lamp early, he does have a fire source guaranteeing that Tower of Hera is going to be full clearable as he makes his way up.
Yeah, absolutely. And remember that heart that he skipped? He's still hanging out in 5 heart series. He's going to keep rolling with that, I suppose. The blue medal was pretty nice. I mean, that almost essentially doubles your health. Not quite, but close. Alright. Hera's going to be his first thing that he does on Death Mountain.
Okay, and we saw a map check from eLmaGus. I do believe that was Thieves Town and Palace of Darkness for our 5 and 6 crystals.
Nice. That's what our trackers put down too. Shoutouts to the tracker here, always keeping us honest, seeing these things that we always miss for some reason. The unsung heroes of back of the house here for Randomizer. A nice spin there in the Beatles. Ooh, didn't quite get it with the pot there though. Gotta throw a little harder in that next time.
That's what happens when you don't have the gloves, right?
Yeah, exactly. Glove strength gives you 1 extra pixel on your pot throw. So to no surprise, eLmaGus is going into pod immediately after he finishes Aga 1 because literally the only thing left for him to do. I know we've seen one dungeon item out of Hera, so I guess either Moldorm's going to have the map or he'll have the last item, giving us the option of whether or not the basement may or may not be required.
Yeah, and Moldorm, not a particularly scary boss, but on 4.5 hearts, anything can happen. He can send you places you'd rather not be.
Yeah, he handled that just fine though. Master Sword or Hammer makes it somewhat free just because you can ignore his super fast troll phase. Ooh, and there was the map, so there will be an item hanging out in that basement. Such a long way to do pod, all the way to the big chest just to get the flute to go to Death Mountain, and you gotta go all the way to the right side of pod that's bow locked to get the big key, and then walk all the way to that big chest just to leave and go to Kakariko, and then you can come back and do the dungeon.
Yeah, the one advantage, as you said, with smart key counting, you can keep that one key that you're going to need to come back and do Helmasaur, so don't have to spend any extra time in there on your next and hopefully final trip in.
saltyphry's just gonna be hanging out in these pegs, abusing some iframes here.
Yeah, Neon Link needs a new battery, I think. He's on the fritz.
Surprised he's checking this here, to be honest. He seemed to been trending, leaving away the you know, one-off locations and just kind of going for the big checks here. But I guess he's got a good feeling about this Hera basement. All right, he's gonna turn red.
something that's nice when you just have one or 5 hearts to work with. Oh, now Magus executing Hariump, getting their flute here. And I don't quite remember the item distribution in the rest of pod to know whether that will let them dip out a little bit early, perhaps.
I mean, with the keys in hand, he'll get one more small key from the these other rooms. I don't remember which chest it was in, and by that point you should be able to deduce that all of the key doors should be locking just a small key, because you would still need one key to go to Helmasaur. Because you couldn't spend a key and get an item, because then you would be down a short key. So
absolutely.
Alright, there's our flippers. So that gives us access to West Dark World now, via the long way around. eLmaGus had to mirror out just to save and quit, because if he didn't do that, he'd spawn on top of the pyramid, something I always forget. So kudos to him for remembering to do that, but yeah. He realized there was nothing left in there to check, so he's going to go turn flute and be making a trip up Death Mountain.
Yeah, saltyphry, meanwhile, finding Spear Change on the top of Paradox Cave. Interesting point, come back to something that you said. With saltyphry having skipped a couple of one-off locations, and 32 minutes in here, still finding 0 gloves. I'm kind of interested to see at what point they're going to get kind of nervous, maybe go back and check some of those.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a fantastic point. I would imagine as soon as this breadcrumb trail he follows, you know, comes up cold, maybe that'll be when he decides to do it. But right now he's just been following the next item that he's gotten so far, and it's worked out really well for him. He'll have a little bit of a crossroads here, whether or not he wants to. I mean, you have the flute now, so checking Agina, Ice Rod Cave, Zora, all that stuff is made just a little bit more efficient. We know, though, that the money is going to be over in the West Dark World somewhere. Okay, so he's walking this way. It makes me think he's probably going to go check Hobo and then maybe flute over to check the Zora area. Or he'll just walk over and swim here. I feel like maybe it was faster to flute? I'm not sure. Seems like it would be. He'll get his 6th art container, and then he'll walk over to Zora and get his big giant rip-off. Then at that point, I guess he'll just have to save and quit and see whether or not he wants to go do some more Dark World stuff or do some more of these one-off locations.
Yeah, and with eLmaGus here coming up on Tower of Hera, presumably going to make that dip in there, finish off the east side of Dark Mountain after that. They are apart by just about the width of that full clear of Eastern Palace at this point. So, be interesting to see whether saltyphry makes that play back in there potentially too, thinking, you know, maybe my hammer's in there or something of that nature.
Yeah, definitely another option for him. heading north towards the castle here. Makes me think he's probably going to be doing some more Dark World goodies here. eLmaGus will be finishing up Hera. He's got the tools to complete it as well.
Using the silver arrow on that red guard in post-Aghanim Light World, I'm glad to see that that one's annoying for everybody else as is for me.
Those red guards are always annoying. They're so fast. So yeah, to get across here, you're going to need either a glove, a hammer, or the flippers. And I'd say the flipper only is probably the more unique of the variants here, but he's showing it off here. You just kind of swim over, and then you can hook shot across here, and then voila, you have access to West Dark World. This little double bomb set up there from Magus.
Yeah, I've seen that a few times. One of the less popular ones, but makes it a little bit easier to get yourself in exact position without having to wiggle around with your sword out quite as much.
Yeah, it's very safe. I still think sword spins are probably like one of my more favorite ways to do it. You just kind of hold out a spin and release it as you're kind of falling off a ledge, and then you snap back to the perfect pixel every time. The way he did it, though, is very safe, and also something you can do without a sword. I think eLmaGus got a poke in there, so he's going to have to do another slash, or else he'd get a fast phase. Now there's just 10 arrows in the graveyard ledge. Crazy to think of how much they've done of this seed, and they still don't have a single glove upgrade.
Yeah, that I think we've almost got to see it over here on in West Dark World somewhere, and it's just a matter at this point of which direction will we go first.
I mean, it doesn't have to be a glove in there. You could have, you know, just a hammer hanging out over there. Then, you know, you could have your first glove from turning into the green pendant or something silly. The dream, right?
Oh, absolutely. And we could have a shovel over here. We could have well, magic powder's available, so we've already seen that. But we could have a mushroom over here. We could have all kinds of fun world traversal to do before we get our items.
I feel like those gloves always like to hide out in Swamp Palace, especially when it's a pendant. Yeah, you got no gloves, but you're telling me I got flippers and a mirror? Alright, yeah, I know where that glove's at. Alright, so saltyphry can go ahead and check a few of these Skull Woods entrances. He doesn't have the fire rod, so he'll be missing clearing out the boss area in that one chest as well, but you still never know what items you might find here. Could be the fire rod outright. And you got the big key, so you can go ahead and check this big chest. He's lining up a bomb jump here. That one looks pretty good.
Oh, and clipping that Moldorm. Oh, and getting his first glove over here in Skullwoods.
Alright, there's number one. That was quite a journey to get that one.
Yeah, and gonna finish up with the last chest that he can get here. With Samaria, this is a pretty quick check. And wouldn't that be wild if he found the second one in this chest?
It would be nice. Again, they finally got their first glove, but they still don't have any Dark World access outside of that Aga barrier that they made. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him be very diligent with all of the stuff that he checks while he's over here, because if you leave anything behind and have to come back, you have to walk the entirety around.
Yeah, picking up that glove, able to leave from this west side exit without those two ordinary rocks blocking your way.
You know, I would have never thought about that. I don't think I've ever gone that way south, and one day I probably would have thought about doing it and been like, oh, there's rocks here. I never knew. You always have a glove by the time you go, you know, south to north, so... $5 from the chess game there. All right, Magus got his flippers, and he doesn't even have to worry about checking any of the Light World flipper locked locations because he's already done them. So he can just mirror and immediately head over to West Dark World because I think he's really been chasing this seed on kind of the last legs that have been available to him.
Definitely. And saltyphry getting his baby shield in Village of Outcasts, I would presume will be hopping into Thieves Town here.
Yeah, kind of checking these outlier locations, hoping maybe you could find the hammer before you have to go in here, but with how difficult it is to get to and from the Dark World, and this also being a 5/6 crystal, I wouldn't consider killing blind while I was here. I'd rather just walk back to the big chest if I need to. Well, there's one item in Thieves Town being Oh, Magus is coming down here to get the powder. That's pretty clever. Okay. Yeah, use the whirlpool up by the, I guess, Dark Potion shop, and then he can come up here and pick up the powder while he's over, and then finish up his route. So, saves him from having to walk all the way down to this area, and then he can just kind of hope to either find the mitts or the hammer so he could turn in that powder.
Yeah, absolutely. Has the option of getting in there with the mirror as well, but that loses them their Dark World portal. And given how in short supply Dark World access is, I can't imagine they're going to make that choice just for that one item right now.
Yeah, well, they'll need the mitts if they want to do that also. So we're still missing one more glove upgrade before that could be possible. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It would seem like a huge gamble to skip out on Big Game, Stumpy, South of Grove, and Hype Cave. Then even, one chest in Swamp Palace just to, check the magic bat.
Yeah, you make a good point. The hammer on Swamp Palace map chest dream is still alive.
If you don't have the hammer by the time you get around there and you really haven't found anything after checking Hype Cave, I mean, you definitely go in there and see what's up. Another item in Thieves Town. We have one of the dungeon items too. There still is the chance that the small key to this dungeon could be locked in the big chest, kind of making a neutral key for a key situation, the same situation you see in Pod. Before that logic was implemented, though, we would have known that there would be a small key in the next chest that he checks, but they switched all that stuff out, and I like it.
Yeah, absolutely. And without the hammer, that's, of course, what saltyphry is going to be hoping for, as even if he does get that key, then he has no way to check it at this point.
Yeah, I'd rather just get all the items, not have to worry about it. Okay, alright, so I guess that small key is in the big chest. I don't think Blind... Yeah, Blind can't drop that small key, so Blind's going to drop our map for us, so he's not going to have to worry about that big chest.
Yeah, and saltyphry hookshotting that full magic refill down in the basement, so very unlikely that he's going to have any difficulty with Blind, but just in case, he's got the cape, so really no concern here.
So eLmaGus, he decided to go and do the Village of Outcast area before going to Skull Woods. We know he's really not going to find too much down here. The only thing we've seen so far is that glove up in Skull Woods. Hopefully, I mean, I would assume after he does Thieves Town, that I don't know if that'll be his next check, or if he's actually just gonna. Looks like he's just gonna go ahead and wrap down and take this all the way to Hype Cave.
Wow, that's interesting. That dip into Skull Woods is a pretty popular choice, and in this case, pretty important choice. Missing out on those gloves there.
Yeah, I mean, he's gonna have to go back and get it. We don't know if the fire rod may or may not be down here, so it could work out for him, but. Again, just with the kind of how silly your Dark World access is to getting that area, I feel like you would want to check everything while you were there to avoid having to take multiple trips to walk all the way from the pyramid to get over to Skull Woods.
Yeah, we've got a fair number of digs in our dig game. Somewhere between 20 and 25, I think, before getting that bottle.
Surprised it was an empty bottle. I feel like it should have been a bottle full of dirt, you know? I mean, guess it's got a good lid on it.
And then you get a bottle full of water if you get it from the dam area.
Yeah. Oh, nice. There was I think one and only 10 bomb drop there hanging out in the Cave 45 or South of the Grove Cave.
Yeah, one of the possible uncle weapons, so to speak. Maybe he left it in there for us.
It's very kind of him. Wouldn't be surprising if he did leave it in there, you know, considering we stole, like, the mirror from the next chest over.
Yeah, no, Magus, of course, having to take this overland route around a Hype Cave, as without the gloves, they can't pick up that boulder down there.
Yep, and wow, you think we're going to have that hammer in Hype Cave? At this point, we're running out of spots again with the combination of what they've checked. Ten bomb upgrades, single arrow, a blue cane, and a red rupee.
Not particularly hype, unless you're a real big Blue Cane fan.
What locations do we have available right now? We
do have first chest of Swamp Palace, of course.
And Catfish. Is that all we haven't seen?
Yeah. Yeah, we don't have mitts to get into Meyer area, so that's pretty close to all that we have, definitely.
So Magus is going to be checking that first chest in Swamp Palace. saltyphry doing the same. I'm not surprised to see saltyphry doing it. He has stuff left to check in the world. But Magus left behind Thieves Town and Skull Woods. You got to be thinking, well, did I leave the hammer over there just to come check one chest in Swamp Palace?
Yeah, I guess at this point it's just a matter of you're in the area. Even if you did leave it back there, you're not going to save any time going back to check, so you may as well get this out of the way while you can.
It's weird how both of them kind of left some stuff on the table, and yet here we are hanging out in Swamp Palace for the ultimate, you know, one play here. And there's the other glove.
Oh,
wow.
So neither of our runners going to be able to actually progress in Swamp Palace here, but in a way that kind of balances things out. eLmaGus, still of course without Dark World access except through this Aghanim portal, is going to have to take the long way back around here, whereas saltyphry now does have access via Thieves Town, and of course to the Mist-locked areas in Death Mountain.
Yeah, he's got that. He can do the stuff in Misery Mire. I guess what'll be interesting too is we'll probably see a lot of different stuff between Magus and saltyphry based on how they're going to get their mitts. we might see a magic bat from Magus, and then the Smiths and Purple Chest sequence, whereas from saltyphry we'll probably see Death Mountain. Oh, and also Catfish, too.
And saltyphry checking the Meyer medallion. I didn't quite see it. Did you, Ak?
I think it was Bombos, but I never trust what I see, so... Oh, cool. Half magic in the Meyer shed. Maybe he'll give us another look at it here when he goes to check checkerboard. And then we'll see what's at Catfish. saltyphry doing exactly what I said he would by not showing us what it was. Piece of arm from Catfish. $20 over in the checkerboard cave.
And with that, come back into the Dark World. It looks like, yeah, saltyphry must be coming over here to take care of Desert.
Yeah, gonna get some info on it, whether or not that big key is gonna be locked by the boots.
And passing up another heart container that he could just walk to.
Okay, that one took a couple more steps, but I mean, that one in the dam, it was right.
I suppose with red mail, you're not in too much danger anymore, even with just 7 looks-like hearts. But oh, and seeing the fire rod up there on the torch. So Desert Palace itself, not technically boot locked, but they are definitely going to need that to. Well.
That fire rod is
now,
definitely required. Skull Woods is a crystal, so they're going to have to get that fire rod. So that's actually a great move for saltyphry right now. Not only did he realize that he's going to be able to obtain another crystal here because he will be able to finish this dungeon, but he also knows where one of the pieces to the puzzle here he needs to finish, being that fire rod hanging out on the torch there. All right. And he even got lucky. He doesn't even have to check the big chest because it's going to be a dungeon item.
Yeah, and he also knows that he is going to be getting boots before Ganon's tower, which is, if nothing else, a nice morale booster.
Yeah. You know, even if it is the chest right before it, but yeah, you're not going to be entering Ganon's tower without the. Yeah, you're absolutely right on that. That's kind of why I like the Moon Pearl in the library is one of my favorite places for it. All right, the seed can't go on that long without the boots. You got to give it to me sometime. Yeah, it's a shame we don't know what that medallion was, because outside of that, it was like hammer and boots, and yeah, that would be pretty much go mode. Outside of that medallion, that we're still don't know which one it is.
Yeah, I believe so. And saltyphry using those silver arrows to great effect. Not quite getting the one cycle, but still about as quickly as you can do. About as quickly as you can do Land Molus.
So eLmaGus took the route back around, got to Skull Woods, got those mitts, and he is immediately going to Dark Death Mountain. He's not even going to bother with Thieves Town without the hammer today, it looks like.
Yeah, and considering that saltyphry did not pick up the hammer on their still worthwhile dip into the Meyer area, I wonder if they might not find it here.
Oh, I think this is a hot spot for the hammer right now. I wouldn't be surprised to see it in Super Bunny here on Hookshot Cave. Of course, then again, I guess you could have the hammer being that other item in Skull Woods being locked by the boots that you find over here also. The hammer is giving it a lot of options to be nested deep here.
Yeah, with the myths, we will be getting our Turtle Rock pendant check, or medallion check. We could have it somewhere in Turtle Rock, potentially.
The hammer can't be.
Oh, no, of course not, because you have to hammer the pegs.
Yeah.
Good call.
Could be an entrance shuffle, not this mode, though. And that was Ether on Turtle Rock, so I'll give us eyes on the medallion we might not need at all. Silly enough, you could even have a hammer and ice palace somehow. Well, I'd ask for a new seat at that point. There it is, hanging out in Hookshot Cave. And the boots.
And the boots.
Wow. And the ice rod.
The ice rod.
So saltyphry will be just a medallion that we should know what this medallion is, but we don't, away from go mode after he finishes up Hookshot Cave here.
Yeah, now Magus, of course, didn't see that Fire Rod was on Desert Torch, but having relatively little left to check, this is one of their most item-dense locations.
Here, close your eyes, don't look. Oh, it was Ether.
Okay.
Alright, so we're just an Ether medallion away from go mode, so I don't think we're going to be seeing any use out of that ice rod or any trips in the Turtle Rock.
And saltyphry heading just right back over, presumably to collect that.
Yeah, I don't think saltyphry did the Gina's cave while he was over here.
Yeah, I believe you're right.
Maybe he had forgotten about it. Seems like if any time you gave yourself the most efficient way to check it, but I guess at this point you've been running hot. Why bother? So he'll be getting his Fire Rod. And because of how Magus routed it, he didn't even have to make the extra trip to Desert like saltyphry did, because he did Dark Death Mountain before coming over here.
Yeah, and one of our bigger chains remaining with the mitts available, we do have the blacksmith, the purple chest, the hammer pegs, everything around that sort of loop. Looks like saltyphry is going to go back up and finish off Mothula first with their newly required hammer rod.
Yeah, I think there's still one item hanging out in Skull Woods. That's a good play. You could just find Ether outright here. We got some bonk locations, and again, like you said, we have that fetch quest chain there. I mean, there's Ice Palace. They can finish Pod as well, which opens up Fat Fairy. At this point, it really seems like it's going to be a race to Ether, even though saltyphry is pretty much a full Thieves Town clear ahead of Magus, because he didn't do Eastern Palace like Magus did. But that time can be made up so quickly in this. I mean, one person finds Ether whiles the other person's, looking for it in Ice Palace. Ice Palace takes a long time to clear out the whole dungeon. It takes no time at all just to go mode it.
Yeah, absolutely. Whenever we have runners like this just so close to go mode, then there's really no telling what can happen in terms of lead switches.
Then also, if one person ends up checking some other places for Ether, but finds maybe a Tempered Sword or something, that'll save them a lot of time on the Ganon fight as well. Master Sword to Tempered is a huge upgrade and also a huge time save. Just a compass from Mothula there. We'll see if he checks that back chest. That means I was keeping count correctly. If not, we'll assume there was nothing there. I'm sure it breaks everybody's heart too, but there will be nothing on our pedestal this evening. So sorry. Now Magus is heading to do pod.
Yeah, coming back to pick up the, if nothing else, the crystal from Helmasaur there.
Little teaser medallion there, Bombos, not the right one. Now it looks like saltyphry is going to go finish up pod here too. I think this is really interesting for him because he hasn't done Eastern Palace yet, and I feel like at this point you'd be like, maybe I do kind of want to dip in there. I mean, you still have some other crystals you could do, but you'd hate to clear out all these other crystals when that Ether Medallion was just hanging out in Eastern.
Absolutely, and this is really the last opportunity that he has to do it and get some sort of routing value out of it, do something else in the meantime.
Yeah. I guess he could go do all of Swamp Palace and then do Eastern after he turns in the green pendant. eLmaGus immediately going to pod, though, makes me think he might be considering a play on the Big Bomb, though. He would still have to finish up Thieves Town and Skull Woods. He knows he can combo those two together, though.
Hitting the switch with an Ice Rod just because it's nearby in the mirror, I guess. Or in the menu.
Yeah. You see that a lot. You see a lot of Kane of Samari on that switch, too. I think one of my favorite ones is you can get the red boomerang and you can actually like throw it diagonally and go right in between the blocks and somehow hit the switch. Someone showed that off. I thought it was pretty neat, and I tried to do it and it was impossible. Yeah, we're just looking for the Ether Medallion for Go mode here, though, so pretty much a race to do it.
Yeah, Helmasaur with silver arrows. Another boss that is not going to be too difficult. eLmaGus managing to get the fireball despawn there, breaking the mask just as Helmasaur is about to spit out some fireballs. That's too many sprites for our little game here, and so it just gets rid of them.
Nice joys of the programming in this game. I don't know, I kind of like it. It's really nice how it seems like a lot of these production flaws and oversights kind of help benefit us in the long run here. So Mag's finishing up pod, just kind of clearing up his crystal pendant checklist left to right here, it seems like, on the tracker. saltyphry is not behind, doing his Helmasaur fight here, and then yeah, one silver arrow will kill Helmasaur.
Yeah, and eLmaGus coming down here to take care of Thieves Town first. Much nicer to walk out of Thieves Town and into Skull Woods than having to walk all the way back from Skull Woods into Thieves Town.
You know, chat's making a really good point right now. No one's checked Lumberjack yet. In fact, we don't even have any knowledge on what's in those bonk rocks. That's 3 items right there, just close proximity to a save and quit in Sanctuary.
And saltyphry, excuse me, fluting to Link's house,
This is definitely Big Bomb. It has to be. I don't know what else he would be doing down here unless he really wants to make a play on Swamp.
Yeah, that was my first thought, but that does seem much more likely that we're going to see. Of course, we have seen Pyramid Ledge already, just a piece of heart there. But Big Bomb, and from saltyphry, I'm not sure if we've seen Catfish yet. I know we saw it from eLmaGus.
No, saltyphry has not done Catfish yet. Doing Big Bomb here is awesome, especially when the game forces you to do an Naga 1 just to get to the Dark World. It's like, I might as well get a little extra mileage since you are putting me through all the motions here and making me do all the steps. I'm going to take advantage of this portal and I'll do the Big Bomb the quick way. Thank you very much. No ether in the Fat Fairy today. What do you think his next move's going to be? He's got all of Ice Palace left. He's staying in the Dark World, so I guess he'll be heading over to Catfish?
Yeah, I would imagine. Well,
maybe not.
South here.
Oh, I guess this is going to be picking up the powder and then possibly just going right into Ice Palace from here.
Yeah, or of course, with powder, he may be thinking about doing that blacksmith, magic bat, hammer pegs, those things all in one go.
Yeah, I guess so. Nope, looks like Ice Palace. Okay, yeah. So, this could be a deal maker or a deal breaker for him, I suppose. You figure with eLmaGus kind of right next to the blacksmith and stuff, he might do it. So if he finds ether over in that area, that could definitely close this gap, and if not, give him an outright lead. But I suppose eLmaGus is going to have to go up to Skullwood, so he might not do it. I don't know. This is interesting. This is close. It really is just going to depend on these last few decisions that they make.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah.
As you said before, Ice Palace, definitely one of the dungeons that you would prefer to go mode if you have the option. So, eLmaGus getting their crystal. After they do Skull Woods, it will be interesting to see whether they decide to finish off that overworld just that little bit more.
It'd be really silly if that Ether Medallion was just hanging out in the Bonk Rocks, though. Could have had it the whole time. So I don't think either of the runners have bothered with any of those yet.
Yeah, no, we have seen Graveyard Ledge, but no Bonk Rocks and no King's Tomb.
But again, the saltyphry's benefit, either could just be hanging out in Ice Palace. This is a dungeon he's got to clear out anyway, so... Just never expect it to be here, because you're like, the game's really not that nice, is it? It wouldn't stick something right in my way. Ooh, we got hit by the fire bar there, so he's going to have to redo the bomb jump here. Kind of struggling a little bit with it. I'm not too familiar with the setup that he's using.
Yeah,
with that time, though.
With his sprite, he has a lot more potential areas to line it up by, I suppose.
It definitely makes it a little easier to see the full outline of the shadow. Well, as we sit here and anticipate, eagerly await where this Ether Medallion is going to be, you have any guesses or preferred spots for it?
I don't know. You've kind of sold me based on your imagination of their reactions after they find it there. You've kind of sold me on Bonk Rocks.
Bonk Rocks? Yeah. I actually kind of like Ice Palace here. We know the Boots was locking the Fire Rod was locking Bombos. So we've already seen the Boots locking two big things. You know, maybe the next logical step was to go hang out here in Ice Palace, or maybe it's just in Swamp Palace. I feel like from the Green Pendant turn-in is absolutely the worst.
No, yeah, with the pedestal no longer in play, that's maybe the most time-consuming option left available.
Oh. Well, how about from a book lock spot? We haven't considered that now.
That opens up a few tablets.
Magic Powder would be a really interesting spot for it, too. That would be pretty painful for eLmaGus because that's something he could have had a long time ago, just with how he routed it. But once he got his mitts, he went immediately to Death Mountain, which was a good play.
Yeah, and eLmaGus coming out of Skullwoods the long way just to double-check that Lumberjack spot and seeing... I believe that was our wanted single arrow.
Yeah. I don't think he'll need that. Well, I guess he's getting it. Did we see that correctly? What could that have been?
I don't know. Maybe he's just doing it for the meme.
Oh, it's a shovel.
Oh, okay.
That was another item in Ice Palace. I know I saw two. I don't know if I missed the third one yet. I will assume that I did, because he's going back for the iced tea room, and he also has all the dungeon items. As someone says, the single shovel, that's what item was on the Lumberjack.
Yeah, not a pack of 5 or 10 shovels.
Or a shovel capacity upgrade.
Yep, and we are seeing Bonecrocs and King's Tomb getting taken care of. Bonecrocs not containing our desired item.
So they were not bootlocked today. Only access to Ice Palace was bootlocked. Unless, of course, the single shovel ends up having the goods. Alright, so saltyphry, he's going to be doing his cold stare fight. He has Bombos, half magic, fire rod. They even still have that fairy, which was literally the first item that they got in the game. A piece of heart from the dig spot there. Gonna go ahead and use Bombos to break the shell here. It's nice, you can get a spin off, and this saves all of your magic for Harry Potter strats here to just blaze this cotton candy monster dead.
Yeah, that spin to set up those fire rod kind of splash damage hits that deal damage to 2 or 3 puffs at once. Very quick way of getting rid of that boss.
So that's 6 crystals for saltyphry. That was the third item in Ice Palace, being a piece of heart. Still looking for that ether. Magus is going to go ahead and turn in the big bomb here. He's not going to be very happy with what he finds. And at this point, you got to ask saltyphry, where do you go next? You cashing in on this book immediately, or? Ooh. He's going to check Bombos. I feel like if you're going to go all the way to Bombos, you're probably going to go back into Swamp Palace. I guess he didn't have to, though. He could still do the Smith's purple chest sequence. He could check Ice Rod Cave. He could check Agina. He could go into Eastern Palace.
Yeah, I didn't even think to remember that we still have not, I don't believe, seen an Ice Rod check from saltyphry.
Yeah, he's got the bonk rocks available to himself also. $50 from Bombos. Oh, I guess now he's going to check Agina. Better time. What better time than ever? Yeah, you can't forget about your grandparents. That's just rude. Magus is going to be doing the Smith sequence, opting to not go into Ice Palace. So he did a save and quit from Sanctuary here. Wouldn't be surprised to see him clean up the 3 bonk rock locations. And this is kind of where you're starting to see the gap close in a little bit because saltyphry is finally getting around to those back-end checks that we've already seen eLmaGus do.
Oh, and eLmaGus mirror bonking on the door frame there.
It looked like he's just like a half pixel too close there to get you. It's a good return on your investment for turning in the Smith there.
Counterfeiting a lot of money for this seat.
All right, Magic Bat, what do you have for us today? Bugnet, lovely.
Yeah, and saltyphry just going directly into Lumberjack, I believe without a check, will pick up their single shovel.
Yeah, you might as well if you have it open and you haven't checked it. Probably just as fast. And you got to think he'll be cashing in on that shovel immediately. He really has no other reason to route down there. It's a small heart from the purple chest. We're running out of spots where that ether could be. So that's enough risk for Magus. He's tired of doing overworld. I might as well finish up some crystals here and get at least, what feels like some positive progression done. Unfortunately, the only thing he's going to find in there is a book, which we're not sure if that's where it is yet. If it's, that ether medallion was hiding in plain sight the whole entire time. Yeah, and this looks like a purple, or Smith, purple chest, magic bag, saltyphry.
Yeah, definitely keeping that commitment to overworld before dipping into some relatively painful pendant dungeons. I'll be interested to see whether he even goes as far as to head up and check that vanilla ether tablet before dipping into, say, Pendant Swamp.
I mean, it's really not that bad of a play. There's 2 items hanging out up there. He's got the ether tablet that he can go ahead and hop down and do Spike Cave right after. Seems like a low time commitment, opposed to Swamp, whereas I feel like if you did all of Swamp, you're pretty much committed to see the whole thing through all the way up to finishing the boss. I guess messing up the Stalfos room there a little bit. That's alright, though. You got 20 bombs, you can afford it. Lines up his bomb jump there. First try. It's always got to be that one item that's hiding out the most.
Yeah, of course, not something that you can make a definitive claim about without some hard statistics, but it does seem like version 29 in particular gives you that sort of tendency towards that go mode item treasure hunt at the very end of the game.
No, it's been like that forever. It has nothing to do with the logic. It's always those medallions, the flute, ice rod. You know, you'll see it often with the bow, but you know, items that are just not locked by a lot of other things that, you know, take you forever to find. You know, at least they got the ice rod. You know, even though Turtle Rock's not required, but you know, you don't have to worry about it. He's got a tough decision ahead here too. He fluted to over here. Is this for the? Wasn't this Quake?
I thought so.
Okay, thank God.
Yeah, maybe just double checking, not sure of his own memory, and not wanting to make that mistake.
I'm not even gonna lie. When he was going down there, I was like, he's checking library. Wait, there was a medallion on the library. Wait, please don't tell me it was Ether. I wasn't actually 100% sure there for a minute. That would have been great. We would have been like, wow, we're all really dumb.
Yeah, and going into Dark World here, it does look like...
Can that play on Swamp? Okay.
Yeah, I believe so.
This is definitely going to give Magus time to catch up, especially if he decides to go, you know, check some tablets up Death Mountain and stuff. Wouldn't be surprised to see him do it with what he has left. I mean, he might just say, I'm going to go check Ether and Spike Cave, and if that's got nothing, I'll do Bombos in the Swamp. That seems like a very logical route for Magus. So if there's nothing here in Swamp, this is going to be a very close race. Yeah, I'm kind of hoping for Ether just to be on the Ether tablet, so, you know, we could just be like, come on, guys, it was in the most obvious spot we could put it. What's the big deal? But Swamp is definitely a good play here. It's the highest item dense location that he has available to him.
Yeah, and considering that he is just looking for that one go mode item, I would imagine that he will be leaving left side and the big chest for later, unless he gets a easy way to do them straightforwardly.
I don't know. It's a pretty tough call to skip any item in Swamp right now. I feel like if you're going into this dungeon, you are committed to see it through. Because he doesn't necessarily need to complete it. I mean, whenever he finds Ether, he could leave. So I feel like you stay in here until there's nothing else, or until you find Ether.
Yeah, and of course, as you say that, Swamp is our green pendant dungeon, so there is always the possibility of Ether being on Sasrala.
Getting a Tempered Sword out of the next chest to check there is some nice value, though. Some routing I really like for Pendant Swamp is you don't do left side immediately, but you don't necessarily go to kill Argus. A little rough it being the green pendant, but I save Argus to last. I kind of like that strategy for Pendant Swamp. I think Argus takes a little bit longer to kill than checking the left side.
Yeah, although with that Tempered Sword find, not only a significant difference in terms of Ganon speed, but speeds up Argus a fair amount too. Just a single slash rather than having to resort to spins for killing those puffs.
And here is eLmaGus doing what I kind of thought he would be heading up to Death Mountain, because he's going to go ahead and get these 2 checks, and then when it's not here, he's going to be right behind him in Swamp. So, I mean, this is really seemingly kind of the race right here almost. Whoever's going to find it. We know one of them's right. We just don't know which one yet. Because eLmaGus just doesn't have that much left to do. Oh, just a heart container from Ether Tablet. So we got Spike Cave left. I think we found 4 items so far, if I remember correctly. There was 2 items in that one room. Oh yeah, there's 4.
Yeah.
All right, who's going to be the winner here? Didn't quite get it with the silver. That's all right, though. One more spin will take care of it. And here's our check on Spike Cave. It's Ether. Wow.
Wow.
So that puts eLmaGus in go mode.
Yeah, and saltyphry, not having found it in the sort of main route, the backside of Swamp, I can only assume, as you say, is going to be coming back in here to finish off the left-hand side.
Yeah, he's going to go back in and check it, and eLmaGus is going to be finishing up Meyer. I will say the only caveat to what saltyphry did here is that he did get a tempered sword out of this adventure, which is going to make finishing Ganon's Tower a lot faster for him. I don't think it's going to be enough time, though, depending on when he decides to head up Death Mountain.
And of course, eLmaGus may be checking some additional chests in here, looking for a tempered sword. Probably will not go out of their way, and in Meyer in particular, all the chests kind of separate from one another, not really any convenient to check chests along the way. Oh, and unfortunately, ice rodding one of those popos instead of presumably what they meant to do is fire rod that, so having to come back and take a relatively slow Wizrobe room here.
Yeah, he's really liking using this ice rod today. Well, saltyphry really just needs to hope for remembering to hit the... First, needs to remember, he hopes to remember to flip that switch, which he did. He needs a very long, drawn-out big key, I suppose. I figure anything that adds length to the run is probably in his favor right now. Outside of that, though, I think he's going to need a little help from eLmaGus. So here's a nice mushroom.
Yeah, of course, we've also got, you know, again, big key to consider, and lots of different routes that we've seen throughout that tournament of trying to find that the quickest. If we have a right side Ganon's Tower big key and eLmaGus goes left, that makes up a significant portion of time.
You're not wrong. That's, you know, a few minutes added there extra as well. There's all the items in Swamp Palace, so he's going to go turn in his green pendant. I mean, be surprised to see him go into Eastern Palace. I feel like at this point he would know, like, hey, if there was anything in Eastern, I've already lost. I better go check. I don't know. At that point, I would be a little worried right now if I just did all of Swamp Palace and didn't find anything.
Yeah, and the green pendant play also kind of necessary. It just sort of fits in with what he's committed to at this point, having full cleared Swamp.
Oh yeah, you have to go turn in the green pendant if you're going to do the whole dungeon.
And no time to give those bombs back to Silas Frollo. We got a race to finish.
Alright, so saltyphry is heading up Death Mountain. So I imagine by the time he gets his ether and gets Mire open and all that, he's pretty much going to be the full dungeon clear behind eLmaGus.
Yeah, we'll see what the exact timings are as we come in here, but it does look like he's going to be entering Mire at about the same time that eLmaGus finishes Vitreous. eLmaGus coming into Vitreous with just 3 hearts. With the silver arrows, kind of a trivial boss fight, but
Well,
takes a bonk from a small eye there.
He got close to a couple more as well. That was very dangerous of him, but he gets it through. He still had his fairy though, so.
Oh, absolutely true. The very first item in the game, still
Yeah.
unused.
With how the routing of the seed worked, I mean, you were funneled up to doing Hookshot Cave with the hammer. I'm sure either one of them must be wondering whether or not the other person went immediately over to Spike Cave after they got their hammer.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the early bottle and early cape, it was definitely in logic.
Yeah, I feel like they might have even had Blue Cane by then. I'm not even sure, though. Yeah, but now it's time for everybody's favorite game. Pick a number. What was it 1 through 22? And the Ganon's Tower Big Key is going to be in one of those chests. I'm going to go ahead and pick number 8 because it's Herfy Durfy's favorite number.
I'm going to go with my old standby of 3, right on the torch.
All right. So you're confident on the number and the route that they're going to take.
Yeah, it is always that interesting question, especially if, as you say, either of these runners is feeling behind. And eLmaGus in particular, with that dip into Eastern, may decide to make the play for right-hand side, or maybe even, the play to directly finish off Tile Room, depending on how far back they're feeling.
And so eLmaGus pretty much came up on Ganon's Tower here, right at an hour 33 there. A little distracted by saltyphry there. He trying to open the chest and missed it and almost fell off the bridge. He actually ended up behind the chest somehow. I don't think I've ever seen that.
And we did nearly forget our speed gaming game. We got that in the last minute there, but if you have donated 250 bits or subscribed to any of the speed gaming channels, you can get your guesses in here for just the next few seconds until we close that up.
So nothing in chest 1 or 2. eLmaGus is going to the right side, so you missed out on the routing there that he did. And apologies about forgetting about the bot. I broke it once, so they don't let me touch it anymore. I'm too scared. So that's 5, 6, 7, and chest number 8. No go. I blame Herfy. Did I miscount that? Well, that was chest 6.
Yeah, that should be 6, because we did not see a tile room check. So
Yeah, I have
2.
no idea what I'm thinking. Alright, so this is number 7. All right, so chest number 9, 47, and 18 coming up.
Yeah, no big key in the Stalfos room.
Nobody hired me for my math skills. All right, so I think that was 11 there. We'll be working our way towards chest right before rando room, which will be 12.
I think counting the torch, we have 12 in total.
Can you count the chest for me? I can't do it. Well, if we don't see it from Rando Room, Ice Armos, or Bob's chest, that's setting up the ultimate gamble from saltyphry to do Tile Room. Wouldn't that be something special?
Yeah, and saltyphry finishing up Vitreous here with no problem. And we don't see it from Rando Room.
And it looks like he's gonna be about a little over, man, like 4 minutes behind entering Ganon's tower here. He does have that sword, but I don't know if a Master Sword and Temper Sword is 4 minutes, especially when eLmaGus could outright find the 4 sword here in Ganon's tower.
Yeah, eLmaGus, even after doing a more or less full clear Ganon's tower here, probably still would be checking those chests on the way up, hoping for an extra sword upgrade. And it is down to Ice Armos and everyone's favorite chest.
Alright. And when I said 4 minutes behind, add 10 seconds to that because we've gotten rock blocked here.
Okay, and finding it in not quite the vanilla location, and choosing to check that last chest anyway, just in case, but finding it in chest number 20.
That was the same number I had too, so I promise. So we got a lot of mileage out of his Ganon's tower checks. Didn't even get rewarded with a sword out of it, but it's pretty much pure execution for Magus here. Definitely his race to lose right now.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that chest behind Ice Armos, not really something that you can make up with a routing decision. You're going to have to go around one way or the other, either way.
Yeah.
So a little bit of time to be made up there if saltyphry elects to directly go into Ice Armos rather than putting it off till second. But still, as you say, definitely eLmaGus' race to lose. And congratulations to Riking27, our winner of our speed gaming bot contest with a guess of 21. Not very far off at all.
Hey, that works. Next, doing excellent work in this gauntlet. Even though it's going to take a couple more slashes to kill some of these stronger enemies here. Doesn't seem like it's bothering him a little bit, even using silvers for the guaranteed one hit here. Dang, somebody's got 5 wins on the big key guessing game? They should just play the game. They'd be professional.
They should go to Vegas, is what they should do.
We should actually have this big key guessing game like on Vegas. Can you imagine like going, one of the sports bars in Vegas and you got baseball up there, a football game in the other screen, some soccer, and then it's like LTTP randomizer.
Absolutely. I want to
20 to
see.
1 odds. Big key guessing game.
I want to see a rando race up on the big screen on the strip. 100%.
I would lose all of my money. I'd bet my house.
Yeah, and saltyphry making that play full right as well. Probably both of them potentially thinking they're behind. The difference maker is going to be, will he choose to go into Ice Armos?
Yeah, it'd be a pretty interesting play for him. Seems like it's too little too late at this point. Just can't even imagine what's going through your mind, though, when you just did all of Swamp and found nothing, though. I know that's got to sting a little bit. Well, he is going that way, so...
Yeah, he is going on an eLmaGus with only one more chance to pick up a sword upgrade here.
Oh yeah, you're right. That is definitely a big factor here. Ooh. Using the door frame there to bonk over, and it's going to be a Master Sword Ganon for Magus today.
Yeah, with those silvers, still not a hugely significant time difference, but we're in the realm now, especially with saltyphry coming up on Ice Armos here, where a fall could put us in really close contention.
Yeah, a really late fall would definitely take a lot of time, just because you're going to have to go through probably around 5 or 6 cycles before you get Ganon Phase 3, depending on how good your Master Sword Ganon is. Of course, it could be substantially less, too, depending on how good it is also. It's not the easiest thing to do. Alright, so as eLmaGus is dropping into the pyramid, saltyphry has gotten this big key and he's heading upstairs to fight Aga 2.
We get my favorite message from Ganon, a little bit of the police there.
Nice, so you got the double off the trident there and even got a really nice spot for the next phase there. Kind of a 50-50 whether or not he comes down here 1 pixel away so you can set up doubles. I was going to say what would have been perfect here is if he got him all the way up in one of those corners where he could just spin infinitely. He has a cape right now. He could use that to sneak in a couple more hits.
Yeah, maybe waiting for a corner positioning here. Yeah, and he does switch to the cape as Ganon goes to the lower right corner.
Here's the freest of Ganon spots here. Where you always want him to be if you're dealing with this sort of nonsense. You can just kind of hang out in this top right corner and just spam shots at him. But that should put him into phase 3 here. Again, he does have that fairy, in case you've forgotten, because it was about roughly an hour and 44 minutes ago when he picked it up. But yeah, just 4 silver arrows, and that'll put eLmaGus to 3-0 in this Swiss round.
And of course, it's always when you feel like you're behind that Ganon teleports about 25 times.
He does teleport the same for your opponent, but man, you still wish you would stop for some reason. You just don't feel like, you feel like your opponent, you know, he's not teleporting at all, he just stands still and, you know, asks to be shot. That was a wonderful triple to finish that out. Great fight. So GG eLmaGus moving on to 3-0.
Yeah, no, man, just finishing up with an SRTV official time of 1 hour, 45 minutes, and 6 seconds. Considering what the seed put him through, pretty reasonable time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we basically had a hammer in Swamp Palace. Whether it was even worse, it was a fetch quest to the hammer in Swamp Palace.
And as saltyphry makes his way into the Moldorm 2 fight here, we'll see if we can get eLmaGus in here for an interview, potentially.
He usually likes to come talk after his races, but it's his option. We'll see if he wants to come in, chit-chat for a bit.
Yeah, saltyphry with the Tempered Sword, getting the spin and slash in on Moldorm 2 to finish him off.
It looks like eLmaGus has joined our setup room here, so we'll move him in. Hello, GG.
GG, eLmaGus.
Yeah, thanks, GG.
You don't
Nice
sound
seed.
too thrilled about it.
Nice seed.
You don't like Fetch Quest Hammer and Swamp Palace? I thought that was the dream.
I don't know. I was thinking the whole seed that I was going to lose the way that went, but yeah, I don't know. Somehow, I apparently pulled it out of my, you know.
You know, from a commentary perspective, you know, seeing both sides, I would say saltyphry was. It seemed like about a dungeon or half dungeon ahead, missing, you know, some checks you had done. He never went into Eastern Palace, but he did Swamp Palace, whereas you did Death Mountain, and that was kind of the deal breaker. That's what broke the race wide open for you there.
Oh, okay. Oh wow, he went into. Oh man, okay, that's crazy. That's actually crazy. Wow.
There was a lot of things I felt were a little crazy, but they seem to be working out, you know, up until they didn't.
Yeah, that's wow. Okay.
I
Man.
mean,
Yeah, I was thinking, I know Salty a little bit, we've raced once or twice before, and he does usually skip stuff like that, which makes it all the more surprising that he actually went into Swamp. Interesting.
yeah, he jumped on Aga much earlier than you did.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
He got the glove out of Skullwoods his first trip around, which didn't seem to hurt him too much, though. 'Cause how you found your glove, which was the glove in Swamp, was his mitts.
Yeah. Yeah, that was my last straw, basically, too. Like, I say, okay, if this chest is nothing, I lost, for sure. And then I pull out a glove out of the chest, I'm like, oh, great, this seed is amazing. Which, in return, that told me, okay, so if a glove is here, I'm still in there, because, like, Thief Sound and Skull, they might have had, like, another glove upgrade, but not necessarily the hammer, so that made me feel a little bit better about everything. And then Death Mountain was where it turned around, I guess, but yeah. Man, I felt really good about those boots and the hammer there.
You got him just a pinch faster than he did, but that was because he got his mitts and he went over to the mire area, and he had found the fire rod, he just couldn't access it. But you guys were almost on Dark Death Mountain about the same time.
Makes sense, yeah. The only thing that I would change about my play is checking Spike Cave earlier, because I could have, but I was so entranced by all those items that I was like, hey, I have like 10 dungeons to finish, let's do that instead.
Yeah, I was wondering if any of you would have been really worried that, you know, either of you, like, as soon as you got the hammer, you just kept on going and went over to Spike Cave, because, I mean, if either of you have, I mean, he would have been outright in go mode.
Yeah! I mean, one other thing was that we knew that Quake was bootlocked, and we didn't know, or I didn't know at least, what Meyer had, so I was like, well, I have a decent enough chance to actually be able to pick it up, and I, of course, didn't.
Oh yeah, that makes sense from your spot, because if you went over to the Mire area and it was Quake, you already knew you were in go mode. That makes
Yeah,
a
that's
lot
why
of
I immediately headed there, actually.
Yeah, and saltyphry finishing up with an official time of 1 hour, 49 minutes, 49 seconds, and we do have him in the waiting room as well, so we'll pull him in here real quick.
Hello, saltyphry. GG.
GG.
GG, dude.
GG.
Any feelings on the seed, or?
Pretty disappointed I didn't go to Spike Cave when I was up on Death Mountain collecting my boots and my hammer and all that. As soon as I left there, that was my first thought, is why didn't I go into Spike Cave right then and there? And going back later on made it hurt even more.
Yeah, it definitely would have been a much different story had you went up the Spike Cave a little bit earlier. That would have, I mean, both of you really didn't have too much to check it, and it really was at the point where we knew either that Ether Medallion was in Swamp Palace or it was in either the Ether Tablet or Spike Cave, and Magus went up the mountain to check those two before he went into Swamp Palace. Whereas you went into Swamp Palace, and that was pretty much the difference there.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense, I guess. When I got that book in Ice, I was kind of thinking about maybe going up there and checking that stuff, but it was just those 2 checks up there, so I kept putting it off, doing other stuff.
Yeah. You did get, your consolidation tempered sword out of it, but it wasn't enough to make up the, entire difference of Swamp Palace, but you got to skip out on Eastern. Magus did that well before Aga.
Yeah, I had a feeling you might have, and I was never going to go. That was going to be the absolute last place I went back to, because I kind of felt like that might have been my advantage throughout the whole race. So I figured I wanted to hold on to that and never head there unless I absolutely had to.
Yeah, you were correct. That really was the lead that you had up until the Swamp Palace over Spike Cave play, that 50-50.
Oh,
Those mitts in there were something too.
Well, it depends on which runner you were. It was mitts for you. It was a glove for eLmaGus.
Oh, I guess he did it before even going into Skullwoods, eh? Yeah. Like, it seemed like you almost might as well have gone in there at that point in time, because there wasn't a whole lot else to go do. And if there was something in there, it was going to be a long, long way to come back around to get there as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, really at that point you did all of the Dark World, and the only thing you got out of it was a glove that didn't unlock anything. I wasn't surprised to see either of you go in there, just because it was like, I mean, I'm here, I might as well. It was good play. Hammer and Swamp Palace basically is always a fun seed.
Absolutely.
At least it wasn't a nice palace.
Yeah, I know, that's always rough when it's there. But I guess I can't be too disappointed with it overall. I think I played all right, and if I'd just gone to Spike Cave a little earlier, it might have been a little different, but hey, it is what it is.
Yeah. And unfortunately, eLmaGus doesn't like to lose in the Swiss rounds either, so you had that going against you also. But definitely GG to you both. It was a fun and exciting race to watch. We really enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very fun race to cast.
Thanks a lot for commentating. Thanks for the restream, and GG to eLmaGus.
Yeah, thanks guys. Thank you very much for doing it, and yeah, GG to you as well. I did the same, by the way. Spike Cave was about my last thing, so yeah, many regrets here too.
Just felt like there was a perfect time to check it when you were up there getting the hammer and all that other stuff, but you get all that other stuff.
Right?
You get all that other stuff, and you're like, you got all this other stuff in mind, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that would have shaved so much time off the seed. It would have been a little weird to see one person have checked Spike Cave while they were up there and the other person not, because the time differences would have been crazy.
Yeah, I bet you could have saved almost 20 minutes off that. You would have been go-moding Ice, and gone right through Mire afterwards.
Yeah, it did seem like your routing was almost really simple there towards the like the middle portion and the end portion of the seed, because you just had nowhere to go. eLmaGus, it seemed like as soon as you got an item, you had to go there, it gave you one more piece. You just went there. It seemed like you were on the last leg of the item chains for the middle part of the game.
Yeah.
It's always a gross feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so as we roll up here on the 5 o'clock hour in Eastern Time, any last thoughts that either of you have about that seed?
See you again in the brackets? I don't know.
Fingers crossed. Now I got one loss, so it's a little more pressure on me, but hopefully.
You got this. You got this. Easy.
My goal was to get to 3-0, so then I just had to go 50-50 the rest of the way, so that put a little wrench in that, but we'll see. We're still all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good to me. And thanks again for a great race, guys. We will definitely be happy if we get to see you again meeting brackets.
Yeah, awesome. You guys played great. I don't want to play any of you, so it was fun to watch. But yeah, there's definitely more races and stuff like that on pretty much all day today.
Yeah, coming up right now in just 3 minutes here, we're going to have Barney FF versus DBrum88 on Speed Gaming 5, and Naylene versus Jet ABB on ALTTP Randomizer 2. So if you are still jonesing and you want to hop immediately into another race, there's 2 channels for you right now. Going to be starting up in just a few minutes here. Yeah, and with that, I believe that we are ready to wrap up our commentary here. Thanks, as always, for everybody who is involved in the setup, the organization, the restreaming of the tournament. Thanks in particular to Cassidy Moen for acting as our tracker, catching those things that we failed to do here on commentary. And I've been Estragon Zero. Thank you, Act the Boker, for joining me in commentary.
Oh, no, man. Thank you. It was a pleasure. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, so I think that will wrap up our coverage here. We will hope to see you on one of these future channels, and if not, hope to see you later on in the tournament. We got a lot of races left to go. Thanks, everybody.